Welcome to the Moms I Know with Sheila Walsh-Denton and Maria Anderson-Farner. Two moms on a mission to reclaim childhood and take you from surviving to thriving on your parenting journey.
This is a quote from Brené Brown. I don't have to chase extraordinary moments to find happiness. It's right in front of me if I'm paying attention and practicing gratitude.
Hi, this is Sheila.
And this is Maria.
And we want to welcome you to
The Moms I Know. Today we are going to be recording our 12th podcast.
We are for real. Episode 12.
All right. So that's also exciting for me because in my sort of overview of parenting, I have sort of these 12 guideposts for parents. And so it's kind of I'm marveling at the fact that we've really accomplished this so far. And so we wanted to talk today on our 12th episode about the idea of gratitude and generosity in raising our families and in raising our children with this as a really important key value. So I wanted to start today with this whole concept of gratitude because I've been doing a lot of sort of personal work and sort of a deeper dive into some spiritual development. And really this whole concept of gratitude, when we come from this place of gratitude, it sets the stage for our entire day. So one of the things that I like to do every single morning is take some time to think of at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I actually keep a gratitude journal and I write that down every morning. And it can be something as simple as, waking up to a beautiful sunrise or hearing the birds outside my home or being grateful for the beautiful children that I have or for my health or all of those kinds of things. And so when I take that time to think about the things that I'm grateful for, it shifts me into this place of, like I said, deep gratitude, but also getting out of any negative space that I might allow myself to head into, whether I'm looking at the day ahead or some challenging situation that's going on in our life or with our families or with the world. And so I think that it's really important to start our day with gratitude and then with also helping our children understand how important it is for them to be grateful for the things that they have.
I think what I really like you said is the shift. I think that's key because if you're waking up and you are not feeling the overwhelm, you know directly that you can go to your journal and write the 3 things. I was taught, one of my teachers said to write 10 things. And at times that's a struggle. But yet it's the simple things. I am grateful for being able to get out of bed, that I get to get out of bed and I get to make breakfast for my 3 children. That's where the simplicity of gratitude really plays in.
We have a fun sort of, I don't know how it started in our family, but just the simple act of preparing food for one another. When we sit down, one of us, my husband or I, will say, "Oh, I can tell that this was prepared with love." And so we joke about that sometimes, but we want to infuse everything we do with this aspect of positivity, with just being so grateful for everything we have. And, Sheila, we are so fortunate, the places that we live, the families that we have, our ability to choose what we want to be doing, our ability to be doing a podcast like this. So I have so many things to be grateful for. And then when things are really challenging, because we all have challenges in life, and, so many of you listening might have all kinds of things that you're being faced with right now that are not ideal. And yet when we look at those simple gratitude statements in the morning, it can really shift us into that place of coming from more awareness of the things that we do have. And I know many people that are struggling and yet have such a positive outlook on life. And so I think that this piece of gratitude can be so huge. I also wanted to share a story. My son, in his young adult years, he wrote an essay that really struck me when he had us read it. And he was talking about how grateful he was to have had the upbringing that he had, and that he wanted to give back. And I was so pleased to see that as a young adult, he had that desire to give back to society, to give back, and he was appreciating what he had been given. And so I was really proud in that moment that we had fostered that sense of being so full of what we have and those blessings that we have to be able to want to give back to society. And so, this idea of generosity also goes hand in hand with gratitude. When we have that gratitude, then we want to serve others. We want to help others. So I feel that that's really important as well.
And how do we cultivate that? How do we cultivate? Because I feel like that, I mean, it could be a stretch for some families to really, because it has to be intrinsic. You know, generosity comes from the heart. So, and as much as I try to parent all the time from the heart, and then try to role model and try to do that, I know sometimes it's really challenging. You know, we do gratitudes for dinner. Sometimes, you know, we'll probably at least once a month we'll go around at the dinner table and say, "What are you grateful for?" So that helps us point out our gratitudes. But I would love to have my son be able to say, I would like to go do a service project. I just don't think that's in his capability right now. I mean, he could do it, but yet how did you get your son to write an essay like that?
And right now your son is a teenager.
Right.
And, you know, when mine was in the teen years, I didn't expect that to be coming. And it was, like I said, in the young adulthood. And there were times when, you know, they wouldn't even want to do their chores, or I'd say something about being grateful for the food that we had. And I even remember that as a child, my parents would say something about people that were starving in other parts of the world. And I'm thinking, well, you know, I wasn't thinking, oh, well, what can we do to help? So yes, fostering it. So I do have some ideas, and then we would, you know, love to invite everybody to be thinking about the kinds of things that we want to incorporate into family life. One of the simplest things that we did was every night at the dinner table, we did say a little blessing. And so regardless of family background in terms of spirituality, there are ways to say little blessings, to be grateful for the food that we have in front of us, to be thankful for the fact that we can all be together at the evening meal. And, you know, having that evening meal together is such a key piece of family life, to try to have those times where we can gather and have these conversations. So the little blessing at dinner. Before bed, kind of reflecting on the day, things that we appreciated, those types of ideas. So going with that.
Yeah, I like that. I actually remember I used to do that with my children going to bed, is give me a highlight. Give me one thing that you were grateful for today. What is one good thing that happened today? So that they can go to bed with, you know, a clear mind.
And then also the little chores that they have, that they're part of a family. And so when we're a family, we work together. And so our children always had chores that they were expected to help with, not for an allowance. Chores and allowances were completely separate in our household growing up. The chores were just, you know, you're part of this family. This is the way we do things. And we really appreciate each other. We appreciate the fact that we can all work together to clean the house on Saturday morning. We can work together to take care of the animals. We can work together in the garden. We can work together to try to create the mealtime. And it is challenging sometimes, especially as the kids get older and they have their own schedules, their activities. But to have these routines that are built into family life where everybody helps in some way, I think that fosters a piece of that gratitude.
That's great, because we are doing that. We do not offer allowance for our children because it's family work. It's I'm not getting paid for this every time I have to do the dishes and everything, so I don't think you should as well.
Right.
Which is a big, because I think a lot of times there's a popular parenting that's, you know, with the rewards chart starting at 3 years old to potty train, that they're going to get candy if they go to the bathroom, or they're going to get this if they do this, and it's just you know, if you fill up the jar of marbles. But I do not think for the long term that's going to be a good thing.
I've never been a fan of rewarding children for things that I think that they should just be doing as part of the family. And I think that when we set children up for this reward system, it's not building what, like you said, that intrinsic reward. I used to say quite often, you know, a job worth doing is a job worth doing well. And so just the sake of doing it is reward itself. And they would laugh and they'd roll their eyes. But I said it. And I also think that literature can really help with a lot of this. And so we would read, you know, series of books like the Little House on the Prairie series. And we would read books about children in different times and places. And their eyes would get big when they heard all the things that kids used to have to do. And I think that also helps foster that attitude of gratitude, and then also wanting to help out. And so we're modeling as well. And so when it comes to that, they may not catch on right away. They may not appreciate it when they're young children or even teenagers. But if they've grown up with parents who are positive, who have this attitude where we are showing and modeling our gratefulness for what we have, that it does seep in. And then the generosity piece, I remember there were funny stories over the years because I have, the two children are very different in their generosity levels. And one was a real saver and the other one was a real giver. And yet as adults, I think they both can be very generous in wanting to give back and wanting to serve. But we have different personalities as well. So knowing that, but then as we're modeling those things, we can really help them to want to do those things as they start raising their own families.
Yeah, you said one of your quotes, and I thought it was going to be my favorite quote that I learned from you from the classroom was, many hands make light work. Mm-hmm. And so I say that in our family. And that, you can say that when you're, anywhere really, when you're with a group of people, you just say, many hands make light work. Sounds so much better than help me over here or telling people what to do. You just say that, and then people automatically want to help you because yes, many hands do make light work.
Right. That was something that in the Waldorf school, when my children were there, that was something that was used all the time. And it was so true because if everybody pitches in, then things go so much more smoothly. And people tend to want to help out in the areas that they love. And people always are going to do more when they're coming from a place of interest and love. They also will appreciate the appreciation. Mm-hmm. So I think that I have a quote somewhere about people do more when they're appreciated for what they do. So I would always let my children know how much I appreciated what they did when they helped out. And, not flattering and overpraising, but just true appreciation for, thank you for helping me set the table or help with dinner or with cleaning your room or whatever it was. And so, and then the chore thing comes in at different ages, what they can handle. But again, back to the Little House on the Prairie books. Oh my goodness, those children had to do quite a bit when they were very young. And so as we would read those, that was modeled for them. And they saw that children as young as 4 and 5 and 6 can be expected to pull their weight in a family. So those were always fun to compare.
Yeah, and that's the blessing of like Maria Montessori, the teachings of Montessori, mm-hmm. very much so. Like put the children to work that they can mm-hmm. do, and then they're going to get their confidence, and they're going to build up their self-esteem by contributing to the home.
Children want to help out. Mm-hmm. When they're very small, they want to help you with everything that you're doing. And I know that a lot of times it's more work to let them help. But when we don't let them help, we're not fostering that confidence in them that they can see that, yes, they can do that themselves. Yes, they can make their bed, even though it might not be perfect, or they can take out the trash, or that they can help chop those vegetables, even though we're holding our breath as they're working with the knife right there.
Right. Yeah. There's so many ways that children can help and want to help. However, we are a society that wants to hurry up and do it. And sometimes we cannot wait. So I think that is the awareness piece that we need to be aware that sometimes, they're get off schedule, mm-hmm. have gratitude for no schedule. Right. And so that your kids can participate and cultivate some, cultivate a work ethic.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also self-sufficiency. It's kind of staggering when I look at so many young adults these days that don't know how to cook or that don't know how to take care of themselves with some basic things that I think that most children can learn pretty early on. And so, yes, everything takes a little more time. But when you look at the trade-off, if you work with your very young children in terms of evening, routines with setting the table, clearing the table, helping with dishes, helping with preparing meals, then when they are older, elementary school age or teenage, they're contributing in a much greater way. And we're not having the battles over, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? So taking that time, investing in that time when they're younger can really pay off over the years. And then also as they launch into adulthood and they are completely competent and capable and they're not bringing their laundry home to mom on the weekends, or they're not calling you every, day to ask about this or that or the other thing. And so I really think that it's cultivating that independence, that self-sufficiency.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to tell you what I'm struggling with is during the school year. The kids have so much homework that sometimes, Brent and I are like, oh, we'll do the dishes. Mm-hmm. And I feel like what I'm doing is I'm rescuing him. I'm making it easier because it's easier for the whole family in the sense that I don't want him up past 12 o'clock working on his AP homework.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a balance, and it's a real struggle to how do you get them to do the chores and then do their homework. They have their sports. They have, that's the reality piece where I know I shouldn't be doing it, but sometimes I'm like, don't worry, I got your dishes because I want to make it easier for you. But I know I'm not doing him any favors or her any favors.
That's such a valid point. However, I want to look at this. Then he can show his gratitude to you for you helping him in that moment. And as long as he knows that it's not every single night that you're rescuing him. But, in this instance, okay, you've got that report tomorrow. I can take your chore tonight.
Right.
And that's
it's
part
funny,
of the give and take.
Yeah, I do feel a little bit of guilt sometimes that, I shouldn't be doing this, but yet it allows me to feel that I am helping him be successful in school. But I know a lot of parents feel that because our children are overscheduled, at this level, and everybody is in comp sports and everybody is, doing everything they need to do. And now he has a job. So you add the job into
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole different podcast too, but but that overscheduling really is a huge piece. But also now, your children are heading into their late teen years. And so they're going to have, when they have a job, that's their own responsibility.
Right.
And so, they're going to be obviously having to prove themselves in that realm.
Yeah.
And so I think that you can let go of that guilt at this point and know that everybody works together. And then the little ones have to take up a little more of the slack as the older ones get more responsibility as well. So, but I also want to look at that piece of the generosity aspect. And that is even sometimes more difficult to cultivate, I think, than the gratitude, because I think that children instinctively are appreciative. They may not always express it until they're older and have children of their own, but I think that they do know how much we do for them and how much we love them and how much they within a family that we can appreciate each other and show that gratitude, and then out in the world as well. But the generosity piece, that was always something that I struggled with. I would see other families volunteering at a soup kitchen or doing these service projects. And so we tried to find things that would work for our family and that we could serve in a way. And so fortunately, some of the organizations that we were a part of would have different activities, and some of the things that they were involved with, the children were involved with, would have those as well. And so we always had organizations that we would maybe fundraise and donate to. We would have different ones that we could do a project around, but it is tricky. And I always wanted to try to find ways to do more. And I know families who on a regular basis will go and they'll volunteer somewhere. We used to try to do the seasonal singing at a senior home, or just helping out with community activities, the beach cleanups. And then within our homeschool program, we would always try to have projects and activities. And it was something that I have to admit I struggled with. And yet looking back now, I wish that we had done a little bit more of that in our family life. And also that I am grateful that as young adults, they are feeling that they have a lot to be grateful for and that they want to move forward and serve. So, we do what we can, but I again, that cultivating that attitude of being grateful for what we have and wanting to help others. There's just a lot of different ways we can look at it, but feeling very strongly that it's an important one to bring to our children.
Definitely. I think that's the benefit sometimes of organized religion. I know a lot of my friends' families are going to Mexico, going different parts, and through their church. So that's a really great thing. I think the fundraising is great as well. We've role modeled fundraising, donating, and everything like that, I think is good. My daughter's school, they do a Christmas, market type thing, and a holiday market. And they say, like a third here, a third for you, a third saving, and then a third you donate.
Yes.
And so that's, my daughter's learning that at an early age. And I think that's really a great thing to display and to role model for our kids.
And a lot of families within if they have organized religion, are tithing, a portion of anything that comes in. And so regardless of what your family background is, there's always a way to find ways that we can donate to others. And there is something about that law of giving that when we give, we receive as well. And so we have to learn to give, and then we also have to learn to be open to receiving. And so even the simple act of giving gifts in a family and the holidays that come up, that can be another area. And in our family, one of the things we worked on was gifts that were homemade.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of homemade gifts. I would
Homemade,
far rather get a handmade card for my children than, store-bought roses or a gift or anything like that. And so cultivating that at an early age.
We've had holidays, homemade, handmade holidays, and those were lovely. And I think some of the best memories, that we have created.
But I don't remember many of the gifts over the years that were bought, and the fancy wrapping and all of that. But the homemade ones still to this day. And those are the treasures that are on display around our home, and that the children remember how they made it, what they did, when they did it.
So one thing I'm talking about the generosity is having the exchange students. For the last 3 summers, we have had exchange students, and that has really allowed our family to be open to receive a child, and for my children to share. To share their bedrooms, to share their food, to share their parents' attention. It has really been a really good lesson. And, for our youngest, it was really hard the first year with the boy who came, because she was jealous of the attention he took with her brother. He was gone for 6 months, and then here comes a stranger, and he's in our family, and wait, he's taking my attention again. And so this is her 3rd summer, and now she finally gets it. but it was a little bit of a steep learning curve. And I really believe that that's the beauty of exchange families, exchange students. And it's funny, one thing, my son was just like, gosh, she always does the chores, our exchange student. We don't, that's what she's doing though, with her generous heart. She's really helping around the house and everything. And our kids are like, gosh, she's working so much. But then on the flip side, I asked them how they were when they were on exchange, and they're like, that's what you do. Exchange students, you get to work because that's how you get involved in the family.
Right.
You
help out.
You participate, and that's what she's been doing. So that's just been a really, I think, for our whole family, for me, really having to give to another child the same love has been, it's work.
It's a huge learning experience for the whole family. I'm so glad you brought that up, because really, when you welcome somebody in from another culture, you're opening your whole family up for just lifelong learning. And it is just an incredibly profound experience. And then also you form these bonds with this person from another country. You learn so much about the different traditions, the cultures, the lifestyles of people from around the world.
Yeah. And I know I call them my Spanish son and my French daughter, they will always be a part of our lives. And I'm so grateful for them and for these exchanges that my children have participated in.
Right. And your family has really taken on some pretty extraordinary exchanges, and at younger ages than many families feel comfortable with. And yet you've been so courageous in allowing your children to go and to experience that. I think our children were a little older when they did exchanges, but both of our children did. And it was profound for them as well as for the children that we had here in our home. And there's also opportunities if a semester or a year is more than your family can conceive of. There's exchanges where you take somebody in for 2 weeks. And we have a lot of programs here in this area where I know several families that they'll take in students for 1 or 2 weeks. And so host families are always being looked for. So if that's something that you haven't considered, you can definitely consider that. And I think that fits both the gratitude and the generosity piece so beautifully. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So many different ways, and every family is going to have their own traditions, their own family values, their own way of reaching out, whether it's through organized religion or through your community or through different sports activities or through the schools or through, if you're homeschooling, through different programs that you might be involved with. And there's just so many ways to look at getting involved. And then, of course, all of the little things that you could do in your home to, help model. Again, we're always going back to that modeling. Our children are watching everything we're doing.
It's a practice. One thing I say to my children is when they're like going at it, when they were younger, they've been hearing me say this for years, but to practice kindness, to practice generosity, to practice gratitude. And I keep saying it's a practice. It's like, we're not experts at this. I'm still practicing. I'm practicing the generosity. And like you said, we are their first teacher. So.
Right. And we are striving. And nobody is perfect. And so we hope that you've gotten a little bit out of this today and can think about how you want to express gratitude in your family and look for ways to serve. And with that, we will look forward to talking to you next week
on The Moms I Know.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us today for The Moms I Know. To learn more about Sheila and her online program, The Mom Map, visit purplebeetnutrition.com. For Maria's monthly blog and to learn more about her group programs and retreats, visit soquelessentials.com. That's SOQUEL essentials.com. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Moms I Know. Until next week, have a joyful family journey.